Okay, picture this. Ho Chi Minh City, early morning. The streets, already buzzing, and the air is just thick with that smell of, strong Vietnamese coffee.
Yeah.
Everywhere you look, basically, there's a cafe.
Yeah.
Could be a little sidewalk place with those tiny plastic stools, or maybe a super modern, sleek spot.
It's everywhere.
Exactly. And coffee isn't just, well, it's not just a drink there, is it? It feels more like this city's heartbeat. It's where people meet, work, just hang out, a daily thing.
Definitely a ritual. And that stat is pretty amazing, right? That coffee is the top drink for locals, almost 40% of beverage purchases.
It's huge. So it makes you wonder, what does it really take to make it in Ho Chi Minh City's cafe scene? It's so vibrant, but sounds crowded too. So that's what this deep dive is all about. We're going to pull back the curtain on the cafe business there. We use a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
Yep, the classic framework.
Exactly. And we're drawing on market data, consumer research, all that good stuff to figure out what makes this market tick. Our goal, really, is to give you a shortcut, to get you up to speed, offer some solid insights if you're curious about this market, or maybe even thinking of jumping in.
Right. We want you to have those aha moments.
Yeah, understanding the potential, sure, but also the big challenges and maybe how to tackle them.
Exactly. We're going to connect those dots, look at the data points, but go beyond just the numbers. Try and paint the real picture. The potential, yeah, but also the pitfalls.
Okay.
We'll kick off with the strengths, sort of the foundation, then pinpoint the challenges operators face. After that, look at maybe some untapped opportunities, and finally, those external threats that can, really shake things up.
Sounds good. Let's start with strengths then, because
Yeah.
that coffee culture in Ho Chi Minh City is something else. It's not just a fad, it's deep.
Really ingrained.
Yeah, cafes are like vital social spots for fun, for work meetings, for remote workers. It creates this constant demand, like the city's living room almost.
And that demand gets a huge boost from something else, easy access to really good coffee beans. Ah, right. Vietnam's huge production.
Exactly. World's second largest producer.
Yeah.
So local cafes can get fresh Robusta, Arabica right there.
Yeah.
Less reliance on imports, and crucially, it can help keep their costs down.
That's a massive built-in advantage, isn't it? Lower costs for quality beans.
It really is a big edge.
And it's not just the culture or the beans. The market itself is just booming, right? Like serious growth number.
Yeah. The revenue for coffee shops in HCMC estimated around, what, $1.46 billion in 2023.
Wow.
And that was up over 13% from the year before.
13%.
In 1 year.
Yeah. And they're projecting it to keep growing. The CAGR, the compound annual growth rate, over 8% through 2030. So reaching over $800 million by then.
So it's not just growing, it's expanding significantly year after year.
Absolutely. Significant expansion. And then beyond just the size, there's the customer base. It's so diverse.
Right, you've got locals, expats.
Expats, tourists, especially in areas like District 1.
Yeah.
With Nguyen Hue Boulevard and all that. It's a magnet.
Okay, and here's something I found really interesting from the research. Quality. Apparently, it's the #1 factor for customer satisfaction in HCMC coffee shops.
Crucial.
Even more so than in Hanoi, apparently. What's your take? Why is that specific insight so powerful for someone looking at this market?
Well, I think the key takeaway is that quality in HCMC isn't just a nice-to-have or a premium thing. It's basically table stakes. It's the foundation.
Non-negotiable.
Pretty much. You can't really win just on price against the big guys like Highlands because they've got scale. So your budget for sourcing good beans, for training your baristas, that needs to be a top priority, maybe even before the fancy decor sometimes, because that's what really builds loyalty there. It starts with what's in the cup.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, strengths are compelling, but it's definitely not all smooth sailing. Let's talk weaknesses. The first one, and it seems huge, is competition.
Oh, it's fierce.
You've got these massive chains. Highlands Coffee, 240 stores way back in 2018, and still leading.
Yeah, they're dominant. Then the coffee house with like 140 stores.
And Starbucks is in there too, 45 stores. For a new cafe, just getting noticed against them must be incredibly tough.
It is. It's like a battlefield. Highlands and the coffee house are major players, and that fight is tougher because of the high operational costs.
Right, the money side.
Yeah, big financial burdens, rent especially, prime spots like in the shopping centers. That average rent in 2024 was $273 per square meter per month.
Wow, $273 a square meter.
Yeah. Then add staffing challenges, finding good people, keeping them. You see how costs just pile up? It makes it super hard for new entrants.
Definitely. And that cost pressure, plus all the existing cafes,
Mm.
just getting your brand name out there is a huge challenge in itself.
Exactly. Brand recognition. The smaller independent places just can't match the marketing spend or the loyalty programs of the big brands.
They're shouting into the wind sometimes.
Kind of. They have to be much smarter, much more targeted to cut through the noise.
And another thing, a lot of cafes, especially in busy areas, really depend on foot traffic, right?
Heavily reliant, yeah, which
And
makes them vulnerable.
super vulnerable to like bad weather, construction, or like we saw with COVID, a health crisis.
Absolutely. COVID was a stark lesson there.
You mentioned that reliance makes them vulnerable when that foot traffic just disappears, like during lockdowns.
Mm-hmm.
What's the real plan B? Is it good enough for most smaller places?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? For many, it wasn't robust enough. They had to scramble.
Right.
The Plan B delivery, online ordering, it needs to be built in from the start, not an emergency fix. We saw the big chains pivot fast because they had the infrastructure. Smaller guys, much harder.
So that vulnerability actually points towards an opportunity then, if you're starting now.
Exactly. Integrating tech solutions right from the beginning, which leads us nicely into the opportunity section.
Okay, good transition. So opportunities. What are the pathways to thrive despite the competition?
Well, one big one is looking beyond the saturated central districts.
Yeah.
Think about expansion into underserved areas.
Like where?
Places like, say, District 12. It's got a high population density, almost 12,000 people per square kilometer, but way fewer coffee shops than District 1.
Huh?
Or Thu Duc City, around 500 people per square kilometer. Still dense, but less competitive. You get potential customers, but maybe lower rents and less direct competition. It's about finding smarter growth spots.
That makes sense. Be strategic about location, and then I guess you need something unique.
Absolutely critical. Innovation and differentiation. This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
How so?
Unique concepts can really capture attention. Maybe it's super high-end specialty coffee, focusing on single origins and brewing methods.
Right.
Or maybe it's about being eco-friendly, which resonates more and more. Or those cafes designed purely for Instagram, like every half you mentioned, with that cool minimalist vibe.
Yeah, the themed cafes.
Those really work well for attracting younger consumers, the under 35s who are really driving the coffee scene now.
And technology must play a huge role here, too.
Oh, definitely. It's not optional anymore. It's essential. Online ordering, delivery apps like Grab or Gojek, getting your name out there on social media. It expands your reach massively.
And caters to how people live now.
Exactly. Plus, with remote work being so common, cafes need to offer good Wi-Fi power outlets. They're becoming third spaces, workspaces.
Right, not just for coffee.
Hmm.
And we should also mention the post-pandemic effect, shouldn't we? Things bouncing back.
Yeah, that's a definite plus right now. Restrictions lifted in early 2022, and the whole food and beverage sector got a boost.
People were eager to get back out.
Definitely. Consumer spending on dining out went up, 5–10% in 2023? And nearly 15% of customers said they were willing to spend more.
Wow. It shows how much people missed it, how ingrained that cafe culture is.
It really does. And connect that to the bigger economic picture, the growing middle class in Ho Chi Minh City.
Ah, yeah. More disposable income.
Exactly. Projections show like 17 million households by 2030 with incomes between $5,000 and $15,000. That directly fuels spending on things like premium coffee. It shifts from just a caffeine fix to more of a lifestyle choice.
Okay, so lots of potential there.
Yeah.
But we have to balance that with the threats, the external stuff you can't always control.
Right. And economic instability is always lurking. Any big fluctuation, it hits non-essential spending first, like maybe cutting back on that daily latte.
We saw that during COVID for sure.
Clearly, it showed how quickly things can turn. And another big one for cafes, especially quality-focused ones, is volatile coffee bean prices.
Right, the raw materials.
Prices can swing wildly. Remember that peak? Over 100,000 VND per kilo back in June 2025?
Ouch.
Yeah. That directly squeezes your profit margins. It's a constant balancing act.
And then there's the risk of regulatory changes, like new rules, taxes.
This is a possibility. New health and safety standards could come in. Maybe import duties on equipment go up. Things that just add to your operating costs, sometimes unexpectedly.
Okay. And what about people's tastes changing? Is that a threat?
It can be, yeah. Consumer preferences aren't fixed. We're seeing a trend towards maybe healthier drinks or completely different things like bubble tea.
Which is huge there too, right?
Massive, around 30% preference. So if people start switching away from coffee, that obviously impacts demand for traditional cafes. You can't get complacent.
Right. Keep innovating the menu too.
Exactly. And the last threat, just to reiterate, is those major disruptions, health crises, natural
Like
disasters.
COVID again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it forces businesses to adapt super quickly, pivot to takeaway, online. The big chains showed they could do it, but it underlines the need for agility for everyone.
Okay. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Bringing it all together, what are the key strategic recommendations if someone is looking to succeed there?
Well, based on our chat, a few things stand out. First, location strategy, be smart about it.
Like looking at District 12 or Thuduc City.
Exactly. Balance that population density with the level of competition. Find that sweet spot, potentially with lower rent.
Okay, step 1, smart location. Step 2,
Differentiation, absolutely non-negotiable. Don't just be another coffee shop.
find your niche.
Find your niche, whether it's amazing specialty coffee, being super eco-friendly, or tapping into culture, like maybe focusing on traditional Vietnamese fin filter coffee, something unique.
Get authentic touch.
Okay?
Third,
Technology. Got to integrate it fully. Good online ordering, delivery partnerships, strong social media game, especially to reach younger folks and remote workers.
makes sense. And finally,
Cost management. Sounds boring, but it's vital. Negotiate that lease carefully, especially if you're outside the absolute prime center. And really manage your supply chain to handle those fluctuating bean prices. Smart financial hygiene, basically.
be lean and smart.
Exactly. And pulling all that together, these strategies aren't just about surviving. They're about carving out a space that's actually unique and profitable.
Right?
But really understanding all these dynamics, the SWOT, you can make proactive choices, not just reactive ones.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. What does this all mean for you listening? We've covered a ton today, from that amazing coffee passion in HCMC to tough competition, the high costs, but also the real opportunities for innovation and growth.
Yeah.
Hopefully what you take away is a much more nuanced picture than just, Vietnam loves coffee.
Yeah.
It's complex.
It really is.
It's competitive, yes, absolutely. But that strong culture, the growing economy, the diverse customers, they offer real chances if you're strategic.
Strategic planning, innovation, smart cost control, those seem to be the keys.
Definitely.
And maybe think about how this whole picture, the mix of culture, economics, technology, isn't just shaping cafes in HCMC. You see similar forces playing out in lots of other industries, globally too.
That's a great point. It's a good case study. So here's a final thought for you to chew on. Given how fast Ho Chi Minh City is changing all that urbanization, the rising middle class we talked about, how might the actual idea of a cafe experience change in the coming years? What could it become beyond just coffee? And what new needs might pop up that smart cafes could jump on